Hey everybody, welcome back to One Seed, One World. So, got some updates here for you. Some things are moving along. I'm a little bit more organized than I was before. Got some of the seeds organized, and last Sunday I started some seeds down in the basement. Started tomatoes, peppers, cotton, and beets. Right? Was that everything? Tomatoes, peppers, cotton. Yeah, tomatoes, peppers, cotton, and beets. And so far I've got sprouts on the tomatoes, the beets, and the cotton has really popped up. Within 4 days, my cotton seeds that I saved from last year had popped up. That's kind of been the standard. Now that this is going into my 3rd year of growing cotton, normally on day 4, the first sprouts start popping up, and on day 5, they're kind of really pushing through the soil. So I'll show you some of my little sprouts that I got going on here with the tomatoes, cotton, and the beets. Peppers haven't really started sprouting yet, but they always take longer anyway. So I was kind of going through it. I'm getting ready to plant some more stuff here today. I'm going to do some tomatillo and then get some of my flowers started, like my zinnias, my celosia, straw flower, and I even have some pink dandelion that I got last year from Baker Creek. I don't know if that's really going to come up on the camera, but pink dandelion. I want to try some of those, and I never got around to planting them last year. And from what I understand, they might not necessarily bloom in the first year, so we'll see what happens with those. But I'm going to get some of this stuff going here today. But as I was kind of going through it, I wanted to cover one thing. Especially if you're a beginning gardener, or if you are a gardener that is looking to maybe sell seedlings or produce, and think about like what your cost structure might be when you're first starting out. Now, this isn't going to include things like lighting or like the mini greenhouses and that kind of thing, because really, like, that's a bigger expense, and once you buy it, you kind of never have to buy it again, or shouldn't have to for a long time. So like, I think the greenhouses run like $70 a piece or something like that, but then you have them for years to use them. Same thing with like the LED lighting. You know, you get like a box of, I think it's like 8 lights or something, and depending on the kind you get, I think the ones I got were probably like $170 for like 8 lights, but they're LED lights. They will last for probably 15, 20 years, and I won't have to make that investment again. But all that aside, if you are just looking at if you're buying soil, like potting soil, your pots, seeds, that kind of thing, I kind of just did a little figuring up to kind of base on how much it cost me. So I get Happy Frog soil. It's a fantastic potting soil. I'm not affiliated with them. You can get it on Amazon. I'll put a link below if you want to get it from Amazon, if you can't get it anywhere else. Amazon is kind of expensive. I know the couple times that I bought it on there a couple years ago, it was like $38 a bag for 2 cubic feet. But I did find that a local little place, it's kind of like an Ace Hardware store, but it's more locally owned by a local Mennonite family, actually, and they sell all kinds of stuff. Everything. They have their own lumber mill, and then they also sell kind of like anything that you could kind of get at Lowe's, but just on a much smaller scale. So they sell Happy Frog soil for like, this year it's $19 a bag. It used to be 17 something, now it's $19. So the price has gone up a little bit. So 2 cubic foot bag of Happy Frog soil is $19. That for me filled 100 4-inch pots. Plus I had some left over that I did my 1x2-inch cells for the beets. So average that out. If you take out the beet one, we're looking at like 18 to 19 cents per pot in soil cost. Now my pots are kind of a heavy duty, sturdy pot, 4-inch pot that I got from Greenhouse Megastore like 4 years ago. I don't remember the exact cost. Gives you a basic idea on basic plant starting cost if you're going to sell seedlings. Then of course if you keep the plants and you sell the produce, then I mean you get tons of produce out of them, then you know it's going to reduce your cost factor even more, your return on investment as it were. So we're starting off with the purple prince. Hopefully that comes up on the camera. This is my favorite zinnia. And just big, beautiful purple flowers. I've showed these in previous years. What I've done with these pots now, I've got the dirt in them. And I know I've showed different videos in the past where you can sterilize your soil and whatnot. I'm not doing that this year. Depends on what kind of issues you have with fungus gnats. I'll put a link below if you want to check out the video on how to sterilize your soil to keep that from happening, dealing with the fungus gnats. But what I'm doing here is, that I found that has worked this year, is I have all these pots in here, and they do have, you know, like the little drainage holes. There we go. So I got these pots with the drainage holes in them. So that way they can soak up water from the bottom or release any water, you know, if they get too waterlogged. I just put my soil in, kind of tamp it down, and then I put about 1/4 inch or so of water in the bottom of these trays. Let it soak up from the bottom. Got all my soil on here. That kind of gets the moisture going up underneath. Then I've made little holes where I want to plant my seeds with just a chopstick. Just make little holes, and then in these I'm doing 2 per pot because since these are flowers, I can separate them later once they get bigger. And then I'll show you. I'll spray some water down in each hole after I get all the seeds in there. So I'm going to do some purple prints here. And I'm also doing these exquisite. These are more of a pink color, and I also have some yellow ones as well. Let's get a spray bottle and spray down in the hole. Give it a few squirts per hole. I just cover them over. Cover those over with the soil. And then I give the top of the soil an overall just dampening with the spray bottle. And once I get these in the greenhouse, with all the plants, you know, in there and all these damp pots, and then it heating up with the plastic around it, and the lights on, the heat and the moisture, humidity really builds up in there. My greenhouses right now are running about 88 degrees, and they have a lot of humidity. There'll be moisture that kind of runs down the plastic, and that kind of keeps things moist. I do have to kind of go by, and I'll do like little spray bys or flybys with the spray bottle, you know, maybe a couple times a week as I see stuff start to dry. But so far it's working. All my plants have been sprouting, and so I'm going to keep doing this method because it's really simple and doesn't take a whole lot of work. Okay guys, so got those seeds in there, the celosia, which had really tiny seeds. So there's a lot more than 2 seeds in there per of each of the little holes, but that's okay. I remember that happening last year. So, you know, some will sprout, some won't, and then I'll separate the ones that do, or I might have to trim some off if they're too tightly packed once they start going. I also planted the 2 types of straw flower, the purple straw flower and the copper straw flower. And hang on, this light behind me is killing me. Shining right there we go. Shining right in my eyeballs. So copper straw flower and purple straw flower. I did 5 pots each of those, 3 different kinds of zinnia. I also planted the purple tomatillos and some black sesame, which is a new one for me. So we'll follow up with the black sesame depending on how that goes. So that's all in. They are in the greenhouses now behind me. Back here is where all this stuff is. So I'm going to close these up. Also, as I've mentioned before, these little greenhouses are great for growing indoors. I've been using them for several years. I'll put a link below to my Amazon if you guys want to check them out, or support the channel by you know, picking one up or something by using my link. Anyway, they do hold the heat really well, the moisture, and basically what I will do, let me zip these up here real quick. What I will do once they get sprouted and kind of get going, like, you know, you saw the tomatoes and some of the stuff that has started to sprout, but once they kind of really pop up, then because it does get so hot in there with the plastic on them, I will open up the top. I also have a fan upstairs. I think I'm going to start blowing on them because, you know, some of these like little guys, they can still get leggy, even though I've got the mylar around it to reflect light back in. I really probably don't have enough lights in here. I've improved on it with the mylar, but I should probably just add some additional lights too. But to help them from getting leggy, you know, you can kind of smack them around a little bit with your fingertips, make them a little bit stronger. But if you don't have time to do that, you could maybe set up a fan, and that will help them get stronger as well. And I do have a fan I'm not using upstairs, one of those oscillating things, so we'll do that. But I want to show you a couple other things before we go. Check that out. So this is my walking stick kale and my filderkraut cabbage. The taller ones here is the walking stick kale. And I'm going to have to up pot these, and actually probably in the next 2 weeks I will start moving these outside because it's outside weather for that kind of stuff. We do have some nights right now that are in the high 20s Fahrenheit, but that's supposed to kind of end, I think, after Monday. Today's Saturday. So after that we'll be in the more like high 30s to low 40s at night, and that will be better for these. Also, on my last video where I was talking about a whole lot of nothing going out in the garden, all that stuff is sprouted now. Very tiny, but I'll see if I can do a follow-up video tomorrow when the weather is nicer and kind of show you what's going on with the spinach, Swiss chard, and what else I have out there, and radishes that I had planted a couple weeks ago. They've sprouted. They're very tiny, but we've got growth. Two other things. This is the basil and cilantro that I planted back in the beginning of January, I think. It's struggling a little bit, but actually I've trimmed some of these. Some of them I've trimmed off and fed to the chickens, and I need to trim off a couple more. I don't know if we can get this up on the camera here. You can maybe see right there where I had trimmed off the top, and now it's bushed out on either side. And that's what your basil will do when you trim it, and that even works when you do it inside. But these need to go in some bigger pots and a bigger area because they've kind of outgrown their welcome in the greenhouses, especially these taller ones that I did not trim that are growing right up into the lights. So, you know, it's not the most fantastic looking basil, but for just growing under lights in the basement, it smells so good. And the chickens love it. Like, you know, this time of year when there's not a whole lot of green going outside, I can trim off some of this stuff, chop it up, give it to them, and mix that in with their food. So it serves its purpose. So I'll put that down there for now. And the last thing I wanted to show you, this is elderberry. I had pruned off my elderberry this year and saved a bunch of the stuff, and now they're sprouting in the bucket. We've got a little bit of roots starting to grow. I've just got water in the bottom of the bucket, and I gave a bunch of clippings to one of my neighbors, and I think he's going to put some out in his backyard to grow. And then I also sent some of the cuttings to my friend Brandy up in Pennsylvania, and hopefully she can, I sent her like a handful of cuttings, so hopefully she can get them to grow up there. And I mean, they're fantastic medicinal fruit, you know, that you can use. You can use the flowers and you can use the berries. You have to cook the berries before you can eat them, but I mean, you can make elderberry syrup, jam, tinctures. Some people like deep fry the flowers and stuff. So all kinds of things you can do with them, and they just keep coming back year after year, and they're very easy to propagate. So I've got all those kinds of things going on down here in the basement. So now we are done for the day. I'm going to close this back up so everything can keep cooking and germinating in there and growing. But growing season is full on. I still have tons of seeds I want to start. A lot of these flowers, like the celosia and the, not the dandelion, the zinnia, I will also direct seed a bunch of those outside, but I like to get kind of a batch started, like a small group that kind of will get going ahead of time, and then I'll direct seed more once we pass the first frost or last frost date. So let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods and what you're growing, what you got sprouting in your areas. But I appreciate that you're hanging out with me here again today, and we will see you again soon. Have a great day. Namaste.